Hi folks, just thought I'd pop on here briefly and say a wee word about cravings. I had week one of my Nutrition for You. It's a 4 week series. Week one was last night, and we were talking about the macronutrients. We were talking about carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, how they all work together in the body, what they do, what information they provide to your body and your cells and your hormones and structures and things like that. And at the very end, I got a question about cravings. What can we do to stop cravings? Mainly afternoon cravings or evening cravings. And one of the key things that you can do is make sure that you've eaten well and properly. Leading up to that, anytime that you get a craving, it's most likely coming from either something that you've eaten or not eaten earlier in the day. So if you start your day off well with complex carbohydrates, with some protein and some fats, your blood sugars will not go sky high up and down. And you're talking about something like either eggs, which is your protein, your oats, which is your complex carbohydrate, nuts and seeds, wholemeal bread, and if you're having wholemeal bread, then have some protein along with that. Could be like nut butter, again, or your eggs, things like that. So making sure that your breakfast is a nice mix. Even your Greek yogurt, great source of protein and some good fats in there as well. So what you eat dictates how your the sugar gets into your blood. Moving on then to lunch, if breakfast has sustained you right through, if you happen to need a snack mid-morning, if your breakfast is very early, then you would be looking at something like just a small piece of fruit and a handful of nuts, something like that, or a wee oat cake and some nut butter. There's loads of ideas. If you need any ideas for things like that, just let me know. Lunch then is probably one of the most underrated meals in the day. I think, sometimes we grab a quick lunch and we think, oh, that'll do us. And, come 3 or 4 o'clock, we're on a real low. Our blood sugars have dipped so far down that our body's screaming out for sugar or carbohydrates. So, we reach for a Kit Kat or a piece of toast or a sandwich or something like that. And really to stop that from happening, and to stop it from happening just quite as dramatically, if we have a good substantial lunch, again with complex carbohydrates, so stay away from kind of like white bread, white pasta, white rice. If you're going to have carbohydrates like that, make sure that they're of the brown variety. Higher fibre slows down the release of the sugars into the bloodstream. And it's that rise of sugars in the bloodstream and then the fast dip of those sugars that can lead to cravings, can also lead to brain fog and fatigue, and things like that. So think about that lunch as a way of controlling any cravings later on in the afternoon. So have a good substantial lunch, nice bit of protein, some healthy fats in there, like a bit of avocado, making sure maybe there's a wee bit of olive oil on the salad, or through your rice or something like that. You can make a nice soup, but just make sure that your soup has a good bit of protein, and throwing in a tin of butter beans or some lentils, and a nice wee bit of some sort of healthy fat. Sprinkling some seeds and nuts, pumpkin seeds and nuts on top, you're going to get some healthy fats in that. Wee drizzle of olive oil over it, or chopping up your bit of avocado and just serving that on top of the soup. Fat is actually a great filler. Now, you don't need too much of it. And if you have too much of it, it can affect your weight, because it is quite highly calorific. But it is so important for the body, for all elements, for our hormones, for our brain, as well as for controlling that feeling of fullness. So just make sure that you're including a wee bit of fat at every meal. So eggs are a great source of protein and fat. So if you like eggs, you're doing great. Fish will be good source of protein, good source of healthy fats if you're going for like a wee tin of sardines or some other oily fish like salmon or mackerel. And if you're having that tin of sardines, you'll know as well that you're getting plenty of calcium in there. So choosing your breakfast and choosing your lunch wisely, being aware of the macronutrient content in it, so that you're having plenty of protein, some healthy fats, and a bit of complex carbohydrates, plenty of vegetables in there, your complex carbohydrates, then that will help you to control your cravings later on in the day. Of course, it does all depend on whether those cravings are physical cravings, which is what we're talking about here, or mental cravings, which is, that you're eating for comfort or, for fear or for sadness, anything like that. And we're I suppose rife for that at the minute, but that's a whole different topic. But actually, you can help yourself even with that by eating the healthier foods, the foods that I was talking about earlier on. All support better mood, better hormone control, and much more clear thinking. Because if we're eating refined carbohydrates, things like scones, pastries, early in the day, and too many of them, sugar, high sugary treats, high sugar drinks, things like that, they are so bad for, for mood and for levels of anxiety. So they basically ramp up the levels of anxiety. It's the chemical structure of the sugar, and again, that's a whole other topic. I could talk for hours on that. But you're protecting yourself by eating the healthier foods earlier on in the day, and as the day goes on, just being conscious of your proteins, your fats, a bit of complex carbohydrates, having your vegetables, having your healthful foods. And if it does so come, later on in the day that you do feel that you want to have a wee treat or something like that, well, at least you'll know that you have supplied your body with all of the nutrients. You've done the very best you can all day, and it's not the end of the world. So I hope you find that helpful. And if you have any questions at all, just pop me a wee message and I'll get back to you.